I know Paige went 4-4 from 3, and that's because Paige shot shots she wasn't shooting otherwise. But this was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. The Seattle Storm have exposed a big-time weakness in Paige Bueckers that if you put pressure on Paige, she will just go. They were like, we are not going to let the Dallas Wings beat us. We are going to play drop coverage. We're not going to lose to the mid-range game. Nuts. Was absolutely nuts. And the biggest reason why it was nuts was because it is the way Seattle guarded Paige Bueckers. A lot of teams are going out with the tactic of, we don't really give a fuck if Paige Bueckers drops 30 on our head.
Everyone kept calling Paige Bueckers the next Caitlin Clark. But what happens when you finally get treated like Clark? Seattle showed us, and it was a nightmare. From 44 points one night to getting blitzed, doubled, and held to 2 for 11 the next, Paige got hit with a defensive wall. This game wasn't just a loss, it was a reality check. So the real question is, was the hype ever real, or did Seattle just expose the truth about how different Clark and Bueckers really are?
Nobody will argue to Paige. Nobody, even her biggest fan, cannot argue to Paige's weakness. Paige's biggest weakness is her aggression. There is no gravity when it comes to Paige Bueckers. Like, if you go and blitz and double team her, you don't create advantages off that. She just plays hot potato with the ball. Like, she got her 11 points, whoop-de-fucking-do. She got absolutely, positively dominated in the 1-2 matchup.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. What happens when a rising star finally gets the kind of defensive attention that usually only legends get? That's exactly what Paige Bueckers just found out the hard way.
0 assists. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. Paige shot the ball 7 times. She was minus 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points. And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed in doubles? She passed. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparisons right now.
People were still buzzing about her 44-point show against the Sparks, calling her the next Caitlin Clark. It felt like a coronation, like she had arrived overnight. But then Seattle came into the picture, and what happened next completely flipped the script. One night she looked untouchable, the next she looked like she had no answers. Seattle didn't just play her tough, they exposed the gap between early hype and cold reality. The big difference came down to the plan. Seattle didn't send one defender at her, they sent waves. Head coach Noel Quinn talked about how it wasn't just about the first assignment. They wanted a second body ready when she turned a corner, even a third set to rotate over if she kicked out of trouble. That's not normal coverage for rookies. That's the kind of defensive pressure usually designed for MVPs. And when that wall closed in, it told the whole story. Every touch became a battle. Instead of space to operate, she had Gabby Williams sliding into her lane, Erica Wheeler cutting off passing angles, and another defender already stepping toward her as she put the ball on the floor.
Paige as a distant third. Paige's in the conversation of who do you take third, Paige, Sabrina, or Leah. The Seattle Storm have exposed a big-time weakness in Paige Bueckers that if you put pressure on Paige, she will just go. She will be a non-existent player. I'm not going to say a negative player because I don't think there's ever a scenario where Paige is a negative player on you. Right now, you can see with proper coverage and proper defenders and proper blitzes, she's not a point guard.
Imagine trying to go through a defense like that, possession after possession. 1 second she thought she had an opening, then a body flew into the gap. She tried to settle for jumpers, but nothing fell. She tried to dish to teammates, but even the passing lanes looked sealed. Seattle's rotations didn't just challenge her, they erased her reads. You could see it in the numbers. From 44 on the Sparks to just 11 against the Storm. From smooth playmaking to 0 assists. From control of the game to a minus 17 plus or minus. That's not just a dip, that's a full collapse against a defense that came in ready. And here's where the comparison to Clark becomes impossible to ignore.
She was an absolute non-factor. Like, I watched bits of the game. I watched it on double speed like I did the FIFA game. She literally was a non-factor. Paige can just stop playing, basically. She was a non-factor last night. And the Seattle Storm said, fuck that, we are blitzing Paige.
Caitlin Clark has been doubled since her debut, and she still puts up scoring bursts and historic assist numbers. Teams will send 2 defenders at her on the perimeter, try to body her at the rim, and she adjusts on the fly. She'll hit shooters out of the trap or use the extra space behind rotations to attack again. She's learned to live in chaos. Bueckers, on the other hand, looked like the Storm swallowed her whole. One player uses pressure to create plays, the other got crushed by it. That's the difference we just saw. Gabby Williams in particular made every drive a wall of arms and quick feet. She shadowed Bueckers step for step, cutting off counters before they even developed. And when Williams needed a break, Wheeler took over the responsibility, harassing the ball and making each catch uncomfortable. It was suffocating. Even when Seattle's defenders didn't force turnovers, they took away rhythm. And rhythm is exactly what Bueckers didn't have all game. Each shot looked rushed or contested. Each decision seemed a second late. This wasn't just an off night. Off nights happen when shots rim out or when fatigue sets in. This was different. This was a game plan that targeted her specifically, squeezed her space, and refused to let her play her natural style. Seattle didn't just beat her, they showed everybody else how to beat her. What Quinn laid out, what Williams and Wheeler executed, that can be copied by every team watching. That's not just one loss in the schedule. That's a blueprint now, sitting on film, waiting to be used again and again. And that's the bigger story. Because hype can survive a single bad night, but it can't survive week after week of defenses applying the same formula.
Like, if you blitz Paige, she is getting the ball out of her hands as quickly as possible. If you blitz Caitlin Clark, she is going to do whatever she can to create something. This reminded me of the way they guarded Caitlin. The way they guard Caitlin Clark. I'm just trying to think of a player that you can put in with Paige that will really go and give her that outlet.
The league just saw how to silence her. The question now isn't about what she did against the Sparks or how good her highlights look. The real question is how she responds when more teams start copying Seattle's script. If this was Page 1, what happens when the whole book gets written against her? This wasn't just a tough night for Paige. It broke the story people were trying to write about her. The idea that she's on the same track as Caitlin Clark? That's gone. One game doesn't erase talent, but it does show the difference between hype and reality. Clark has been carrying that weight from day one, and she keeps finding ways to rise above it. There isn't a next Clark. There's only Clark, setting marks that can't be copied. So the question now is simple. When another team runs Seattle's plan back at her, what happens to Paige then?